So we're being recording, and what I'm going to do now is get started. So before I start, are there any questions from last week, just in case? No? Okay. All right. So I'll just start. And I just want to make sure I'm recording it. So let's see. Yes, it's recording. All right. Okay. So in chapter 5, what's happening is that Arjun is confused by the explanation that Krishna gave in chapter 4 about action and inaction. Because to him, inaction as defined by Krishna, it still sounds like action. So now Krishna is asking him to renounce action, but recommending inaction. So he says, I don't know what's going on. So let's pause for a second and let's revisit what we covered last week. So tell me what you remember or your understanding of action and inaction. Can you tell me what's action? Do you remember? Anybody?
I can try.
Yeah, please.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So action was any work that is done with the desire to enjoying the fruits of it. So as you mentioned, I think khao piyo aish karo mentality. And then no, actually that was inaction. Sorry, I think
No.
Okay, that's action. Okay.
The only part you missed was that according to the injunctions of the Shastras.
Okay. So that's there. The inaction part is the work done against the injunctions. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I can be totally wrong.
Thank you.
Oh, that's good. You're here. So go ahead.
So inaction is any work done against injunctions?
No. That's vikarma.
Okay, that's forbidden action then.
Yes, forbidden action.
Okay, and then there's akarma. Then what is akarma? Is it action or inaction?
Akarma is inaction.
Inaction.
Okay, so then that's the activity done as devotional service with understanding that we are the eternal servant and we are simply an instrument.
Correct.
Just to please Krishna.
Exactly right.
On the spiritual platform is the work.
Exactly. That's exactly right. So action then is what platform is action on? Material platform?
Material.
Right.
Material.
And inaction is action on which platform?
Spiritual path.
Okay. And then we also talked about that they are parallel planes. So therefore they never intersect.
Yeah.
Right? That parallel lines never intersect. So
yeah.
Parallel planes never intersect. So therefore, any activity on one platform does not impact anything on the other platform.
Yep.
So therefore, and karma, what's karma? What platform is karma on?
Material.
Exactly. So
Material.
therefore, any activity done in the spiritual platform does not result in any karma. Right? Because karma is on material, but different platform. Right, Uncle? Right, Uncle? Right? Makes sense?
Yep.
Okay. So therefore, Krishna is saying anything that does not have karmic reaction is inaction because there's no karmic result, no material result. Okay? Makes sense?
Yes.
Okay. So now in 4th chapter, Krishna also advised Arjuna to fight, which to him sounds like action. Right? Well, it is, but it is not on the spiritual platform. So let me ask you another question. Arjun was fighting with the intent to kill. And Duryodhana was fighting with an intent to kill. In one case, we say that he is doing vikarma, Duryodhana is doing vikarma, and we are saying Arjun is doing akarma. Am I going too fast? Because I want to make sure you understand my question. Arjun and Duryodhana both doing the same activity, killing each other, right? But Duryodhana is called, he's doing vikarma.
Yeah.
And Arjun is called, he's doing akarma. Same activity.
Because he was obeying the order of Bhagavan, Krishna.
Right, exactly.
That's
so
why.
So when you obey the order of God, then the same activity becomes akarma.
Akarma. Yeah.
That's the point I want to make sure everybody understands. So I'm going to pause for a second and wait for you to think if you want to ask a question on that. This is a very important concept. Anybody? Okay.
And he was also doing it for the sake of dharam.
Well, yeah, except it's not just, if he was doing for dharam, let's talk about that. That would become a pious activity, right? And that is on material platform. Pious activity is on material platform. Do you understand that word? Again, very important concept.
And Arjuna is akarma, devotional service, is properly devotional service, right?
Exactly. So when you follow Krishna's instructions, then no matter what you're doing, it's devotional service. Even killing is devotional service. Because you're doing this on the order of Krishna.
Yeah.
Now, I'm happy to spend as much time as you want because I want to make sure everybody understands this point.
No, but basically, everything is for the God, right?
For God, yes.
Yes.
Prabhuji, what exactly were you saying is a pious activity? I didn't get the question.
I was saying pious activity is still on material platform.
Yep.
Because pious activity means you want the result, right? For your enjoyment. So like you give in charity, for example.
Yeah.
Right? That's still material platform.
Yeah.
Okay, and you get karma for that. You get good karma, but you get karma.
Okay.
Right? Quickly, it's not clear. You can ask one more question. That's fine.
No, I just am trying to relate. How was the question asked for this? So how is pious activity, like what was it related to? Was it related to Arjun?
No, it was just asked.
Oh, okay.
Just asked. It's not related to Arjun at all.
Okay.
I think somebody made a comment that he was also fighting on the side of religion. That was the
okay.
Okay. All right. So then we'll move on. I just wanted to make sure everybody understands this point. Okay. So now, in chapter 5, Krishna is going to elaborate on how an individual who works in Krishna consciousness is automatically elevated to the platform of renunciation because there's no karmic reaction to this work. So what was renunciation? We said when you stop doing all the work, right? So that's one kind of renunciation. Other is when there is no reaction, karmic reaction, then also same thing, that's renunciation. So if one engages in righteous work, so righteous is keyword here, if one engages in righteous work, offering the results to Lord Krishna, and all the while remembering Krishna, then such work becomes devotional service.
Yeah.
Right? Again, I want to make sure this point is very clear. It's a very important concept. Krishna is going to explain this point again and again throughout Bhagavad Gita. But I want to pause again and make sure you all understand this. So for example, you are working in your office or you're going to school or whatever. But as you're doing that, you're constantly remembering Krishna, that this is Krishna's plan. Krishna has given me this position. This is Krishna's mercy. I'm doing it for Krishna. Then that work is devotional service. You may think you're working for a corporation, doing material work, but if you do it in that mood, then that becomes devotional service.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, can I ask a quick
question? Yes, Malika, go ahead.
So I guess in terms of piety then, let's say someone engages in charitable work or in pious work, but somehow they have basic level understanding of Krishna consciousness. So can someone, while they're engaging in charitable work or piety work, still engage that in Krishna service, or is that something completely different?
So very good question. So let me put it this way. Let me just modify your scenario. If I am thinking that this is not my money, this is Krishna's money. Krishna wants me to use this money in the service of this person who's a devotee of Krishna. Then I'm taking Krishna's money, giving it to devotee of Krishna, that will satisfy Krishna, and then that suddenly becomes devotional service. It's all in the mood. Right? Whereas if we are doing it saying, oh, I'll get my name in the newspaper, this person will be eternally grateful to me, and I would remind him every second day that, look, I gave you money. Then that's pious activity. Actually, if you keep reminding him, that's pious activity in the mode of passion. But at least it's pious activity. It's not devotional service.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes, please go ahead.
If you give a money to somebody, you lend money to someone,
On lend
right?
is not same thing.
No, for example, and he says that he will give you back,
okay,
and he doesn't. And then you say, okay, if he gives, that's good. If he doesn't give, that's fine. I will consider it like as a charity. What is it?
There is this saying in Hindi, and with apologies to Melanie, I'm going to say it in Hindi. Phishal pade to har Ganga. Has anybody heard that expression? And basically what it means is that you had no intention of taking a bath in the Ganges. You're simply walking by the bank, but you slipped and you fell in the Ganges. And you say, I got the result of bathing in the Ganges. So it's like that. You had no intention of giving in charity. But because you can't get it back, you say, it's charity. Krishna is not a fool. You can't fool him. Okay? There's a real story in Gujarat. Some devotees used to go to this industrialist. Every second week, third week, they go with a garland, with prasadam to him with the hope of getting some donation. And this person would simply refuse it. For a whole year, this happened. And always he said no. One day they went to him and he said, you know what, I already gave it to Krishna. And they said, why? How it happened? It turns out that his factory got burnt. I said, all of that is for Krishna. So he gave to Krishna. Well, no, he didn't. You can't fool Krishna like that. So it's the same thing. So Usha Mataji, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, no worries. Okay, shall we move?
Yep.
Okay. So talking in terms of renunciation, I think the fact is, and we all realize it, that for most people, it would be premature and actually detrimental to sever themselves from all worldly relationships and duties in the pursuance of a spiritual perfection. Like give up everything and just go away to the Himalayas. It's just doesn't work. It's premature, it's detrimental. So the path of karma yoga that we've been talking about offers a progressive means of spiritual development while simultaneously staying in this world. So without leaving the world, without leaving the family, home, etc., it gives you a way to make progress on the spiritual path. So that's like, we know the example of lotus feet, very famous example, that in the middle of the water, the lotus leaf stays dry. So similarly, a person who's doing karma yoga, offering all the results to Krishna, he can stay in this world and still remain aloof from all the worldly things. So a couple of weeks ago, we discussed a verse which said, Anasattasya Vishyan by Rupa Goswami, which says that while living in this world, using the material things, but not becoming attached to them, which is possible only when we use them only as much as necessary and use it for the satisfaction of Krishna. That's basically the point being made here, is that when we do whatever you do in this world, don't stop doing what you are doing. Whether it's a job or there's some other work, don't stop doing it. As long as we're doing it with Krishna in our mind, or on our mind, I should say, all the time, And knowing in our heart that whatever I have is not mine, it's given by Krishna. And I'm using it in the service of Krishna. Then, basically, living in this world, you're not in this world. So is that clear? Any questions on that? Okay, because again, some very important concepts in this chapter. Okay, so let's move on. So another point we want, and we've discussed this before also, that the knowledge that one is not this material body, but spirit soul is not sufficient for liberation. Just knowing that we're spirit soul is not going to liberate us. One has to act in the status of a spirit soul. Otherwise, there's no escape from this material world. And we discussed this last week also. So activities of the soul, what platform are they on? The activities of the soul. Spiritual or material?
For the soul is spiritual.
Okay,
Spiritual.
so the activities are?
Spiritual.
Platform. Correct. And the activities of the body are?
Material.
Material.
Correct. So activities of soul are therefore known as activities in spiritual consciousness. Whereas activities of the body, as you said, are on material platform.
Yep.
And they're performed with material consciousness. Okay. And spiritual consciousness, we're using interchangeably with Krishna consciousness. So this includes renunciation of fruitive activities. Fruitive activities are activities done with an expectation of a result, right? So without Krishna consciousness, mere renunciation of fruitive activities does not actually purify the heart. Do you get my point?
Can you say again?
Yeah, without Krishna consciousness. So in other words, not thinking this belongs to Krishna, not thinking we're doing this for Krishna, not offering the results to Krishna, not depending upon Krishna. Just simply renouncing the fruitive activities. It does not actually purify the heart.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a little bit. It's not that no purification, but very small amount of purification. But as long as the heart is not purified, one is basically working on material platform. And a material platform, there's always a risk of failure.
What's that?
Right? Now, since action in Krishna consciousness does not produce material results, which is what we just discussed, right? It's considered on spiritual platform, something we just discussed. Therefore, action in Krishna consciousness is always superior to renunciation of fruitive work.
Yep.
Agree?
Yep.
So, renunciation without Krishna consciousness is incomplete because it is done without the knowledge that everything in existence belongs to the
Krishna.
Lord Krishna. And that no one should claim proprietorship over anything. Nobody should say, this is mine. One should understand that if nothing belongs to anyone, then where is the question of renunciation? And this is the point I want to make sure is clear. So how can you renounce something that's not yours? Like I cannot say that I renounce the property of Mr. Prem Goyal. Well, it's not my right. It's not mine to start with. I cannot renounce 24 Sussex. Everybody knows who lives there, right? 24 Sussex in Ottawa? No? Who? Somebody speak up. Trudeau. Yes, Trudeau. So Mr. Trudeau lives. So I can't renounce that property. I say, I'm going to give it to you in charity. It's not mine. Even Trudeau cannot do that. He's just basically a renter. As long as he's prime minister, he can use it. That's it. He cannot renounce it either. He cannot go to the leader of PC party and say, I renounce to you. I'll give it to you. It doesn't work that way. So that's basically the point. So what is the question of renouncing anything if it's not yours to start with? Right? Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So one who knows that everything is Krishna's property is always situated in renunciation. because I'm not owning anything. So take it. Since everything belongs to Krishna, so everything should be used for the service of Krishna, right? Because it's like if you take my money, you better use it for me, otherwise you're a thief. So same thing. If you're not using Krishna's money in the service of Krishna, we are thieves. And again, I just want to make the point again. So this action in Krishna consciousness is far better than any amount of renunciation, because all renunciation is artificial. Okay? Now, a person in Krishna consciousness understands his relationship with Krishna. And what is that relationship? I am an eternal servant of Krishna. Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, the supreme proprietor, and the supreme controller. So therefore, when a person understands that he is the eternal servant, Krishna is the enjoyer, controller, and proprietor, then that person has nothing to desire or lament over. Like, what do you desire? You desire for something you don't have but want it. And you lament over something you had, you don't have anymore. But if it was never yours to start with and never will be yours, then what's the desire, what's the lamentation, right? So therefore, there's no duality in this person's mind. This is mine, this is yours. Because whatever he does it for Krishna. And that is real liberation. So it's liberation from the platform of mine and yours. And this person is called liberated even while living in this material world. That's, or I should say, that kind of a person, or such a person, is dear to every living being. And every living being is dear to him because this person sees everyone as part and parcel of Krishna, not separate from him. Just like we all love our siblings. We all love our parents because they're ours. So when this person sees everybody is related to Krishna, children of Krishna, and he's also a child of Krishna, then the entire world, regardless of what species you're talking about, is a sibling. And therefore it is easy to love. So just like watering the root of the tree pleases all the twigs and the leaves and the branches of the tree, by serving Krishna, a person pleases everybody and therefore becomes dear to everybody. I'm going to pause again, see if this is clear or some questions are coming to your mind. Or is it going over your head? Is it going too fast or too complicated? Stop me, please.
It's okay.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Shruti.
So in this chapter is like whatever you have mentioned, is that you're talking about like renunciation? It's like one form is like giving up all your worldly duties. You go to forest and take sannyasa, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which you're saying is not practical for people like us, right?
Correct.
So renunciation in term, like, you know, keeping, one can renunciate keeping Krishna as the center of all the duties that person will do. So Krishna being center of any activity we do or actions, I would say, that person can also be like can renunciate. Is that, I didn't understand.
No, so basically my point is renunciation implies something belongs to you and you don't want it anymore, so you renounce it. That's what renunciation means, right? In general definition of the word. Correct? Do you agree?
Yes.
I'm giving this thing up. That implies it was mine. I'm giving this thing up.
Whether it duties or anything, I'm just giving it up.
Yeah, I'm just giving it up.
Yeah.
And on the platform of Krishna consciousness, you say this is not mine to start with. So it's like I've already given it up. So I'm already on the platform of renunciation. Without leaving home, without leaving the city, without leaving my job.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And it purifies your heart and it gets you closer to Krishna and it ultimately develops the love of Krishna. Therefore, it's better than simple renunciation. And that's the gist of everything I've said.
Okay. Okay. Understood.
Is it
think-
making sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Anybody else? Please ask, because again, as I say, it's the basic fundamental foundation of Bhagavad Gita messages. And it's very practical because you will use it every day of your life. Malvika, go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna say, can you please explain this concept of liberation from mine and yours? And you said if a person is liberated or doesn't have that understanding to begin with, that they're liberated from the material world, and then they see everyone sort of as a part and parcel of Krishna, and everyone is dear to him and he is dear to everyone. So can you just, if I missed anything or if I didn't explain that right, can you please clarify?
Yeah, I think you said that a person doesn't understand. I was saying if a person understands that he's part and parcel of Krishna, that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, so Krishna is the supreme proprietor, so he's the supreme controller, that everything belongs to Krishna, nothing belongs to him. And that he's a child of Krishna, and so is everybody else.
Okay.
So then everybody's equal to him because it's my brother, right? It's my sister, whatever, right? And simply by pleasing Krishna, and I give the example of a tree where you water the roots, and all the branches and the twigs and the leaves become satisfied, right? So this person is serving Krishna. Therefore, everybody's satisfied. Everybody's loving him because Krishna is loving him. And he's loving everybody because he's loving Krishna. So that was the point. Is that clearer now, Malvika?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Prabhuji, I have two questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the first question was, I am not able to relate this to, I guess, the material world. How is spiritual consciousness, Krishna consciousness? Because spirit can be anybody's, right? Soul, the soul itself, it can be of any person, a devotee or a non-devotee.
Mhm.
So then, how is it Krishna conscious in that sense?
No. So a spiritual consciousness does not mean the consciousness of the spirit soul.
Mm-hmm.
A spiritual consciousness is that you're conscious of a spirit, some kind of a God, something that's not from this material world.
Okay.
So remember we talked about Brahman effulgence,
Yeah,
talked
yeah.
about Paramatma,
Yeah.
right? So it could be one of those, and we'll talk about that also later on.
Mhm.
So Krishna consciousness is the highest form of a spiritual consciousness, right? And as I said, I'm going to use them interchangeably, so it might be confusing,
Mhm.
but that's what basically it means.
Thank you.
Okay. Your second question?
I did. I just forgot it.
Okay.
It's gonna come back.
It's okay. Old age. It happens. Okay. So, no more questions? All right. So let's just talk a little bit more about material consciousness versus spiritual or Krishna consciousness. So, in material consciousness, how are the senses engaged? Anybody wants to tell me?
What's that?
In material consciousness, how are the senses engaged? Like, what are they busy? What do they want? In material consciousness.
They want to,
I'm sorry?
eyes want to see beautiful things, ears
Yeah.
want to see music.
Right, exactly. So sense
Yeah.
gratification, basically. They want to be
Tongue
satisfied.
wants to eat good food.
Right, exactly. Right. So the senses are engaged in sense gratification,
Mhm.
which means their own satisfaction. But in Krishna consciousness, what are the senses engaged in?
To please Krishna,
Exactly. They're engaged in the satisfaction of Krishna's senses.
all the senses please Krishna.
Right. So here's it. Material consciousness, senses want their own satisfaction.
Yep.
In Krishna consciousness, senses want to satisfy Krishna's senses. Right? Very simple difference. Therefore, just like a lotus leaf is, I gave that example before also, is untouched by water, a
But it is
person in
water.
Krishna consciousness is not affected by the sinful actions. And I'm going to come back to this. So just note that I said sinful actions because he works without attachment and surrenders all results unto Krishna, knowing that Krishna is the proprietor and enjoyer of everything, and therefore everything is to be engaged in the service of Krishna. Now, I'm going to stop. I said sinful activities. So what sinful activities could you be doing that would be called devotional service. That person in Krishna consciousness is doing that.
Fighting for Krishna if we need to fight in a battle.
Bingo. Yes, exactly right. So Arjun was doing what normally would be called a sinful activity. He was killing people left and right. That's vikarma by every definition. But the difference here was that he was doing it to follow Krishna's instructions. That makes it devotional service. Again, another very important concept I want to make sure everybody got that.
Prabhuji, can you do you have like any examples for like our world, like on this?
Yeah, sure. So, for example, normally people will say that don't work too hard, right? It's not sinful activity, but it's going to get you engrossed. But you're working very hard serving Krishna, that's good, right? Or even work, same thing, your regular work. So it's just a matter of consciousness. That's why we keep talking about consciousness.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it like you're trying to say doing actions is not a bad thing? In what context they are done, that's what matters. Like
Context
Arjuna
and the mood.
and the mood. Okay, because Arjuna was also doing an action, which
Right,
is
exactly,
but
right.
the context or mood was
I'm
to
serving Krishna,
follow. Okay.
right?
Prabhuji, what about the army on the borders? They are killing. They
I'm
are
sorry,
killing
can
the
you ask the
enemy.
question again, please? Sorry, I missed the first point. Go
Like
ahead.
I'm not sure if it's in the practical approach, the same service, that army on the border, right? When there is a war, they
Like
are
regular
killing.
army?
Yeah, regular army.
Okay, yeah.
So they are actually killing, but they are killing for the betterment of the country. Is it devotional?
No. Anything you do for your country is not devotional, that's material. So yes, it is pious because if they're doing it for their country and the country is on the right side, but if the country is attacking another for no reason, then that's not even on the side of religion.
But then it is sin, killing.
Yeah, that's right.
They are making sin then.
That's right. Right? But if they're defending their country, then it's not a sin.
It's a vikarma in a way.
Well,
They have to do, but it is vikarma in a way.
Yeah, but if you're on the right side, then it's not vikarma. And scriptures do say that anybody who dies on the battlefield goes to heaven. But they're still not spiritual world. Heaven is material world is still.
Heaven is material world.
Oh yes, Mataji. Got bad news for you. I got bad news for you. Hell and heaven are both here. Those demigods, they're in material world. They die. Right? Have you seen Brahma? He looks old. Krishna never looks old. Right?
He's immortal, yeah.
Krishna is immortal, but demigods are not. Devi Devata is not immortal. They have long life, but not immortal, die.
Yep.
Okay? All right, so let's move.
Prabhu, I think you're on mute.
I cannot hear you, Prabhuji.
I don't know how that.
Prabhuji, we cannot hear you.
Okay, how about now?
Yeah.
It's okay though.
It's okay? Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, so I lost my train of thought. What was I talking about?
Prabhuji, sometimes you have to do your duty because like in USA, people in the army, they don't want to go for war. They still go because their duty calls them, right? In that case.
Sorry, say again?
And people don't want to fight, but because their jobs call them, they have to fight. In that case, what they will do.
Yeah, but no, but they didn't have to enroll in the first place, so it still remains.
Okay, in Israel, you have to enroll it, right? It's compulsory.
Well,
then?
then it's too bad. I mean, like, so basically he's suffering because you're in Israel.
But some people are born into it. I'm just going to that
I
thing,
know,
right?
but that doesn't
Then,
change the rules, right?
yeah, then how can they get out of that? That's what I'm saying.
I'm sorry, say again?
How can they get out of this situation? They don't want to fight, but they still have to fight.
Well, so yeah, like, I don't want to suggest that anybody should break the laws of the country and things like that. So I'm not going to suggest that.
Because they're in a situation where they don't want to fight, but they have to
Right.
fight, and they cannot
Right.
get out
Yeah,
of
so I
it.
mean, that's too bad. You know, the laws of karma don't change for them.
So if they are
But
fighting,
they will never get help then, right?
Well, no, I mean, they can still become devotees. There are lots of devotees in Israel, actually, even Krishna conscious devotees. There's Khan in Israel. So it's not that. And also, I mean, they can have their own Jewish religion. They can be, devoted to God. So it's not that they cannot do that. And there's no war going on all the time. So not every soldier in Israel is killing somebody all the time. So it's not that.
so in that main example, like China is doing war with India these days. So China is on the wrong. Whatever the Chinese are doing, they are not doing the good karma, but India is protecting. So that is a good karma.
Okay, so I mean, I think we're going very off topic now because we don't know so much politics. We don't know who's right, who's wrong. We just hear the propaganda, right? So let's move on. Otherwise, we won't finish class on time. Excuse me. So basically, what we're saying is that when one acts in Krishna consciousness for the satisfaction of the senses of Krishna, then any action, whether of the body, mind, intelligence, or even the senses, is purified. It's purified of material contamination. Because there are no material reactions resulting from the activities of a Krishna conscious person. This is what we have been discussing so far. So therefore, the purified activities can be easily performed by acting Krishna consciousness.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. I just have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, for example, let's say if you are like you're having that Krishna consciousness mindset, and you're in that mood, and you are probably in a situation where you have to, you're in a situation where you probably have to speak up in front of your parents or go, against them in that sense. So in that situation, like how does this work then?
So I mean, arguing with your parents is not necessarily a sinful activity as such. It may not be nice, they may not appreciate it, but you're not really completely, unless you start hitting them or something. So I think you're okay there. I don't think that's Krishna conscious, non-Krishna conscious. Don't offend them, things like that. That's just general etiquette. Okay.
Okay.
Abu, I have a quick question for you. When you say purifying, do you mean like burning karma? Is that the same thing?
Yeah, thank you for asking. Basically, correct. So as you perform devotional service, you start to burn your karmas. And so purification is happening in that sense. And also it's happening in that your consciousness is being cleansed. So the tendency to perform sinful activities also is reduced and eventually goes away. So it's both. Okay. All right. So let's move on. So because a Krishna conscious person understands it's not this body, he has no false ego. And he knows that the body doesn't belong to him. It belongs to Krishna because he himself belongs to Krishna. So therefore, when this person applies everything produced of the body, mind, intelligence, words, life, wealth, whatever he may have in his possession, when he applies that to Krishna's service, he is at once dovetailed with Krishna. Then he's one with Krishna, and being devoid of the false ego that he's this body, he makes quick progress. And that is the perfect stage of Krishna consciousness. A Krishna conscious person realizes there's no existence besides Krishna. Nothing exists outside of the jurisdiction of Krishna. And that all that exists is a product of Krishna's energy. And Krishna is all good. Therefore, activities in Krishna consciousness are on the absolute plane and transcendental, which means beyond this material world. And therefore, they have no material effect. Okay, so I'm going to stop again and see if you understand this, because it's very important concepts. Any questions? Okay, so then let's just review what we said. Somebody please tell me what is the difference in the mood of a Krishna conscious person versus a person in material consciousness. Is the question clear?
So a person, whatever the activities he's doing in the devotional services to please Krishna is the what was your first question? Is the answer of that. And the material versus material person. So everything, whatever, for example, I'm getting ready and I'm listening to something else, I'm actually pleasing to myself, my senses.
Okay.
Not doing any activity to please Krishna.
Okay, good. What else?
According to me, I think like whatever we are doing, we're gonna do for Krishna, please Krishna. Right. For the material world, we please some other people. Sometimes we please ourselves too.
Sure. Okay, good. So yeah, and that needs to be very clear. And therefore, Krishna conscious person knows I'm not this body, I'm not the owner, I'm not the controller, I have to depend upon Krishna, all those kind of things. Right? About a couple of years ago, a devotee in the temple came to me. She was very upset. And she said, all this is going on, and I'm going to run away from Krishna. And she was really crying, very, very upset. I looked at her and then I said, Mataji, when you find that place, let me know. I want to be there also, because I'm running away from Krishna also. And she looked at me, and after about 10 seconds, she understood what I was saying. So there is no place. You can't run away from Krishna.
No place.
You cannot run away from Krishna. You can get angry at anybody else you want, but you cannot run away from Krishna. Everything belongs to Krishna. Krishna's jurisdiction exists in every place you can imagine. Nice picture, Shilpi, but it's not you. Okay?
That's
there
me.
You go. Much better.
Today, something is happening with the connection. It froze me, and then I have to go back. But it's all good. I can see you.
All good. Thank you. Okay. All right. So let's keep moving. So now, in verses 13 through 16, Krishna explains that while living in this world, however, one can easily assume the mentality that they are the controller and the breadwinner of the family. And I'm sure we know many people who are like that. But in reality, Krishna explains that there are 3 doers in any activity. And just make sure that you know that I'm saying 3 because, I think it's in the 18th chapter, we say 5 doers. So don't worry about it. They come to the same thing. But the 3 doers. First is the individual soul. The second is the super soul. And third is the material nature. So let me explain how that is so. But before I do that, the point is that we should understand that forget about controlling the results of our activities, which is what we like to believe, that we control the results of what we do. We are barely in control of even the physical and the mental tools with which we perform these activities. We can't even control our hands and feet and mouth and mind. How can we control the results?
So true.
As individual souls, we can only do one thing. This desire. That we can do. But nothing more. So that desire is then sanctioned by God, who resides in the heart as the super soul. So the desire is sanctioned by the super soul. And then the ability to perform that activity comes from material nature. According to
Can you please repeat this? Sorry, it just
Sure,
kind
sure,
of.
no worries. I'm going to say it again.
Soul, super soul, and then materialistic, material nature.
Material nature, like the material world, material nature, Maya, as you call it. Okay. So what happens? We as individual soul desire. That's all we can do. Okay.
Mhm.
The desire is then either sanctioned or not sanctioned by the super soul. Okay. But even if the sanction has been given, the ability to perform that activity comes from material nature according to our kamra. So for example, we cannot fly. So if I have a desire to fly without any mechanical aid, well, we can't do that. Because the material nature did not give us a body that can just fly. But a bird can, even a mosquito can, but we can't do that. We have not been given that body. So that's the material nature, and there's a sanction by the super soul. But understand that the Lord is not obliged to satisfy all our desires. At all times, it is totally his decision. And actually, there's a saying that says, man proposes and God disposes. And there's a Jewish saying which says, man plans and God laughs. And that's why God is always laughing, because we are always planning. Just keeps laughing at us. Look at this fool, look at that fool. However, just because the Lord sanctions, this is a very interesting point, because Krishna is making a very special point of that in verse 14 of this chapter. He's saying, just because I sanction, it does not mean I assume responsibility and the results of one's sinful or pious activities. In other words, nobody can say, it's not my fault. Paramatma made me do it. Some people say, oh, devil made me do it. You can't say super soul made me do it, because without their sanction, I wouldn't have done it. So therefore I stole, I killed, I did all those things. But super soul sanctioned it. Super soul is Krishna, therefore it's Krishna's fault. Krishna saying, don't blame me, you can't blame me. You still desired. Right?
And here comes the buddhi. He gives you buddhi.
Sure, that's right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So he's saying, like, it's kind of very interesting that he's going out of his way to saying in one verse, like, don't blame me. I don't take anybody's credit. I don't take anybody's sinful activities or results. Okay? So can't blame him. You got to blame yourself. Okay?
So, Prabhu, does the concept of free will tie in with what you just said then?
Yeah. So the concept of free will ties in with the desire. We can desire to serve Krishna, or we can desire to have a great time. Right? And that's actually that's bad because you can have a great time serving Krishna also. Desire to serve yourself, satisfy yourself, right? So, and that's where the fault is. Because the original fault was we said we want to enjoy. That's why you ended up here. So now we can turn around and blame him that, look, you made me do it. No, we didn't. It's us. We got to take full responsibility for it. I just found it very interesting that he goes out of his way to make this point. Because he knows people are very, people try to be very clever. So they give all these arguments. He's saying, no. Okay. All right. So now verses 17 to 26. A person in Krishna consciousness also recognizes that the bodies are material productions of different modes of material nature. So whether you have a human body, animal body or aquatic body or mosquito body, they're all a combination of the modes of material nature. So how many modes of material nature are there?
3.
3, which are?
Goodness, passion, and third one is the ignorance.
Correct. Correct. So we all have those 3 different combinations, right? So for example, a snake will have more of material, sorry, more of ignorance, more of that than more of goodness.
Yeah.
Right? A peacock actually has more of goodness than ignorance. Right? And then humans have all sorts of combinations of those.
Of the 3.
But that's body. But the soul and the super soul within the body, because they're both within the body, they are of the same spiritual quality. So what is the spiritual quality? Consciousness, eternity, and blissfulness.
And what?
Blissfulness. Happiness.
Blissfulness. Yep.
So both the soul and the super soul are conscious, eternal, and blissful. Both of them. But the similarity in quality of the soul and the super soul does not make them equal in quantity. How's that? The individual soul is present only in that particular body and is conscious of only that particular body. Whereas the Paramatma, the super soul, is present in each and every body, is aware of each and every body. So it expands and transcends one particular body. Okay, is that clear? Because that's another very important concept. So a Krishna conscious person has full knowledge of all this, and therefore is truly learned and has equal vision. Is able to see every life, I should say every life form actually, whether it's a plant or an animal or human, as temple of God, because super soul resides there. In this way, that person is able to give utmost respect to every living being, because he knows that different bodies with different qualities are produced according to one's past karmas. But the soul is always the same spiritual quality. So a soul in an animal, soul in a woman, soul in a man, soul in a Chinese person or Indian person or American person is all the same. So with that real knowledge, a Krishna conscious person is truly free of racism, nationalism, ageism, sexism, whatever isms are there. But not just that, he's also free of even the speciesism. Like, doesn't matter different species, same soul is there. The quality of soul in a dog's body is not different from the quality of a soul in a human being.
Yep.
Right? Okay, I'm going to stop and I'm going to ask you a question. Why do we put tilak marks on our body? You know, the 12 places in our body we put tilak marks. Everybody knows that, right?
No.
Yes, no?
I don't know.
Well, like tilak, you know, you see here?
Identity, to identify anything.
So there's 12 places in the body that we put tilak on.
Can you please tell which ones? Because I know a few, but not all.
That's okay, but first answer the question. Why do we do that?
Just to identify something like this is a ISKCON person, or it is a married woman, or whatever.
No.
That is supervision.
Also, actually, Tilak gives some internal peace or something, like some spiritual meaning is there.
It's
So,
some senses.
Huh?
What's that?
Some kinds of senses, like you have the ones, no?
So for me, I think the reason we put it on a forehead is this is the foot of the U is the foot of Krishna, and the leaf is the Tulsi leaf. That we're telling that his foot is on our forehead. That we belong to Krishna.
Okay, so that's correct, but we put 12 different places.
I only know one.
Okay.
I've seen somebody on the arm.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I think the
May I
space
try?
between eyebrows.
Sorry, Himani, go ahead.
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Maybe those are our spiritual energy centers.
No. Okay, everybody's guessing. Hey, Sham, what do you think?
Prabhuji, I think Mama Mana Mandire. So I think it is because to remind us that this body is a temple for Krishna.
Okay, that's exactly right.
I think, Prabhuji, the space between eyebrows is associated with intuitions. Because its forehead signifies a spirituality.
Okay, all right. But I think she just gave the right answer. That remember, all this time we've been saying this. Where does the super soul reside?
Inside the body.
In heart.
Inside the body, in the heart. Okay. And super soul is Krishna, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Krishna is residing in your body. So where does Krishna resides? That place is called? Where Krishna resides, place is called? The building is called?
Mandir.
Mandir, temple.
Yes.
So therefore, this body is a temple.
Yes, I think Pitashri or Krishna names just pranam all Krishna's name.
No, that's true. But I'm just saying that because Krishna is residing in this body is a temple of Krishna.
In all senses.
In
It
all
means
senses.
in all 7 senses. What else too?
What are 7 senses are?
Oh, sorry, 5 senses. But then what 9 other parts? In the head?
Okay, so you're jumping. Just slow down.
Let Prabhuji say.
Slow down. So are we clear why this body is a temple? That's a very fundamental question. Does everybody now understand why we're calling this body a temple of Krishna?
Because Paramatma feature is there.
Right. So as
Beside the soul.
Paramatma,
Beside the soul.
Krishna is residing in this body.
Yes.
The place where Krishna resides is known as Mandir or temple.
Yes.
Therefore, everybody's body is a temple of Krishna.
Mm-hmm.
So before we go anywhere else, is everybody agreeing on that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, like we decorate the temple, there are 12 places in the body, and it doesn't matter what they are right now. We decorate them and we chant one of Krishna's names. One of Krishna's 12 names, we chant with each one. And it's basically remembering Krishna saying, yes, we are in this temple. Thank you for being in this temple. Okay? So that's the real spiritual reason for the tilak marks. Everything else I was talking about just things made up to understand something from a different perspective. But that's the real reason. Okay? So again, the reason I asked that question is just so we know that there are 12 parts of the body that we put this on. Second, that our body is a temple of Krishna, which makes it a sacred. Temple is a sacred place. So our body is a sacred place. And so is everybody else's. Right? Whether it's an animal or a human. So Krishna conscious person understands that therefore there's no ahimsa, no violence. And violence not just with a sword or a gun, violence even with the words, even with the looks, dirty looks. That's all violence. So Krishna conscious person doesn't do that. Okay?
Prabhuji, why we use
I have a question.
body, not the lower part, for putting the tilak?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Say again.
Why we use the upper body to putting the tilaks, the 12 parts?
Oh, very good question. So basically, we consider any part of our body below the belly button to be impure.
Oh, below the belly. Okay.
The belly button, yes. And that's why even when we're doing arti, for example, we don't put the bell below our belly button. We keep it raised. Same thing with arti, fan, and chamwad, all things. Stays up, doesn't go down. Because any part of the body below the belly button is considered impure. Okay?
Yep.
Prabhuji, I have a question. So if Krishna resides in everybody's body, everybody's heart.
Yes, in super soul form.
Then person who is bad and evil, who does bad to others, doesn't Krishna reside in them?
Krishna is so kind. Krishna is not like you and me. He's so kind, so merciful that he stays even with the most rotten person on earth. Even with a cockroach, even with a snake, even with a hog, he stays in the heart of those people or those things. He's so merciful. He doesn't hold his nose and say, "Bahut badbu aa rahi." He doesn't do that. He still stays. That's how merciful he is.
But yet he gives them punishment?
He does not give punishment. You make your own punishment, karma.
You just observe everything. That's it.
Right. You get your own karma. Therefore, you get your own punishment. He doesn't do that.
Paramatma observe.
He knows nothing but kindness. He's merciful.
Prabhuji, I guess I want to rephrase the same question. So in like this Mahabharata, if even Duryodhan's soul has Krishna element in it,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
then how is he on the wrong side? I guess
because he doesn't listen. He doesn't listen. That's why. A lot of us are on the wrong side. Most of us are on the wrong side. We don't listen. We don't follow his instructions.
Not Krishna conscious.
He says, chant my name all the time. I say, oh, come on, can you do 16 only? 2 hours, then I'm done. He says, offer me obeisances. And he said, come on, I did once already. Why do I have to do all the time? He says, come to the temple, visit me. He said, come on, I do once a week. Why do I have to do more? That's what we keep doing.
Right? So I guess that's what makes it impure, in a sense.
That's what makes it impure. When you're not doing it for Krishna, it's impure. Anything not done for Krishna is impure.
I think my guess, Twinkle, he was greedy and attached to Maya, I think. Yes?
Sorry, I couldn't hear.
He was greedy and attached to Maya, I think so.
Who, Duryodhana? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and envious.
And envious.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Verse 22 is another important one. A Krishna conscious person does not become attracted to material sense pleasure because he understands that the material sense pleasures are due to the contact of material senses with sense objects. Now, before it becomes too Greek for you, what is a sense object? Give me some example of sense objects.
Eyes.
No, sense objects. Eyes is senses.
Sense objects. Ear, nose,
No, those are senses.
No, anything we see around.
Smell, touch.
The trees.
Anything we see or touch.
Yes.
Or
yes.
eat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct. So you see or hear or smell or whatever. Those are sense
Yeah.
objects, right? So how do senses enjoy? They come in touch with the sense object, right? So that's basically what I'm saying. So therefore, all the material pleasures are temporary because the body itself is temporary, right? A body has a beginning and an end. You're born and we die. But here's the important point. We come into this world with nothing, right? And we leave this world with
Nothing.
So we came with nothing, we left with nothing. In between, we try to get material pleasure. Sometimes we're working very hard like a washerman's donkey. Do you know what a washerman's donkey does? Do you know what a washerman is, first of all? We're so used to our laundry machines now.
Dhobi.
Yes. So, but what does he do? What does a donkey do?
He works all the time.
But what does he
all
do?
the time.
What's the work?
Yeah, it will take the clothes, it will carry the clothes on.
He's lifting a baggage all the time.
Right, that's right.
Load
He takes it to the river, dumps it, all day has nothing to do, then he brings it back. He has no idea why he did that. He has no idea who's benefiting.
The master, his master.
Well, but he doesn't know that. He thinks he's doing a great job, right? So and basically that's who we are. We work very hard, but not sure why. But not only that, sometimes we do sinful activities, which of course are always source of misery. And sometimes we try to get pleasure in one way, which results in misery of some other kind. So let's talk about some examples where what we thought was going to give us pleasure actually ended up giving us miseries. Can you give me some examples?
Sorry, repeat the question, please.
Things that we thought will give us pleasures, we worked hard to get them. But they actually, in the final analysis, ended up giving us pain or trouble.
Smartphones.
Smartphone, very good. Thank you. Thank you. What else? Any other examples?
Alcohol, kind of.
I'm sorry?
Alcohol.
Yes, that too. Yeah, sure.
I guess money then, because when you have money, like you have to like manage it or like keep it or, you know.
Or save it. Or save it. Keep it safe.
Or multiply it.
Or multiply it. All sorts of, it's more headache than anything. What else?
So Prabhuji, I have a question for you.
Haji,
just on this. So for instance, you know, when you were talking about the donkey and working hard and all of that. So for instance, I want to work hard. If only I will work hard from this point on, will I have enough money to say, for instance, contribute to Krishna consciousness, like the works. For instance, I want to donate, I want to make contributions and think, or, you know, so would that still be, like, how would that be seen? I still have to work harder.
Yeah. So, first of all, working hard or harder does not always translate into more money.
Right.
I know a lot of people who worked in their life a lot harder than I did, but I had more money. I know a lot of people who worked a lot less hard than I did, and they had a lot more money than me. So there's no relationship.
Depending on the profession you choose.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, for example, somebody's into stock market. Somebody makes a lot of money in stock market. Somebody loses everything. And sometimes the same person, by the way. Sometimes somebody works 18 hours a day and they barely meet their basic requirements. Somebody works only 5 hours a day and they got more money than they can spend. You know, one of my brothers is always telling me, please come home. I can't spend my money. You don't have to do anything. Just come home and spend my money. It's a true story. I'm not making it up. My point is that the amount of work you do, the amount of hours you put in, or what kind of work you do, does not guarantee anything. And that's the whole point of this chapter. I've been talking the same thing again and again. You don't control the results. You can try and you can desire, but that's it. Krishna may sanction it, he may not sanction it.
Thank you.
Okay? All right, so let's keep moving. We're getting late today.
Guruji, can you tell us the 12 parts?
Guruji, who said Guruji?
Seema.
Okay, I'm going to laugh, but go ahead.
So what are the 12 parts where we put the tilak?
Yes, I saw that. So can we wait for this? Please let me finish
Okay,
this.
thank you.
And then in the question and answer period, I'll tell you, okay? Thanks. Okay, so some of the examples I can think of, like allopathic medicine. It always has side effects. You know, you do your medicine like the statins and you get kidney problem. You know, you do this and you get heart problems. You know, all those kind of things. You know, anyways, I mean, you can think of many examples: smoking, drinking, promiscuity, and all those kind of things. Give pleasure in the beginning, but ultimately they cause you pain. So actually, I have a pop quiz for you. Who can spell the word pleasure? Spell the word pleasure, the English word pleasure. What's the spelling? Huh?
Pleasure.
Wrong.
Yeah.
Wrong. Yeah. Try again. Spell the word pleasure.
Spelling.
Huh?
You're asking spelling?
Spell it, yes.
Yeah.
P-A-S-L-E.
I can't hear you, sorry.
P-L-E-A-S-U.
Wrong. Wrong. Okay, let me give you the spelling.
P-L-A-Y.
Please,
No.
sure.
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
Okay, the
Yes.
correct spelling of the word pleasure is P-A-I-N.
Pain. Oh.
Yes, ma'am.
Pain.
Pleasure is pain.
Yeah.
So when we go after pleasure, so this is my sense of humor, but when you go after pleasure, all you get is pain. So a Krishna conscious person is not interested in anything temporary because he's enjoying the eternal transcendental pleasure within himself because it's fixed on and connected with Krishna, which is unlimited source of pleasure. And this person understands that the material pleasure is available even to a stool eating hog. So he says it's not a big deal and it's not worth all the pain that follows it. So actually, a true Krishna conscious person does not endeavor hard to get pleasure. He waits for Krishna to give it. Krishna can give pleasure, Krishna can give pain, but it's coming from Krishna's precious mercy, and I happily accept it. And that's the attitude of a Krishna conscious person. Even when the difficulties come, it's all this Krishna's mercy. No worries. Okay. One other concept before I get to the most important verse of this chapter. And the concept is Brahma Nirvana, or liberation on the Brahman platform, which is entering the Brahman effulgence or Brahma Jyoti. So a lot of sages and ascetics, they just want to merge themselves into this supreme spirit of Brahma Jyoti, or Brahman effulgence. They want to dissolve, they wish to dissolve into the Brahman Jyoti, just like water, a drop of water dissolves in an ocean and then ceases to exist. So they want to cease to exist as individual souls. But Krishna says that's not possible. It's like you put sand particles in water, they are all there, still there, not like sugar. Sugar dissolves, sand doesn't. Similarly, soul can never merge and cease existence. Otherwise, it would be against the principle of eternity. But the devotees or Krishna conscious persons, they prefer to unite with Krishna. And how do they unite with Krishna? Through loving service, which is for the pleasure of Krishna, using one or all of the 9 processes of devotional service. They sometimes serve the Lord by helping other people, but not by giving them food, by helping them remembering Krishna through their activities of preaching. So they want to bring the whole world closer to Krishna. Okay, let's go to verse number 29, which is the last verse of this chapter, and perhaps the most important verse. I shouldn't say that. One of the most important verses in whole Gita. And if you can live by this verse, you'll be a happy person. So please pay attention. I cannot over signify the importance of understanding this verse and living your life according to this verse. So the 3 points in this verse. 1 is all about Krishna, not about us. It's all about satisfying Krishna's senses, not ours. Krishna is the ultimate enjoyer. We're not. We are to be enjoyed. Our birth is there to give Krishna pleasure, not the other way around. That's first point. The second point is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who controls and rules over all the planets in the spiritual and the material world, is Krishna. And finally, Krishna loves me. Krishna loves me, and I love him. He's my well-wisher. He has my back. 3 points. Remember them all the time. Let me explain that. So there's a wonderful book called Sri Ishopanishad. It's an Upanishad. According to this book, everything in the material and the spiritual world is the property of Krishna. No exceptions to that. There's nothing that does not belong to Krishna. Now, according to our karma, Krishna has set aside a quota of material things. We can use those things because that's in our quota, but we're expected to use those things in the service of Krishna, for the enjoyment of Krishna, and for the satisfaction of Krishna. Unfortunately, what happens is that under the influence of material consciousness, we want to take what belongs to Krishna and claim it as our own and try to enjoy it. But the truth is that nothing is ours. Everything is the property of Krishna. And calling it ours or trying to steal it from Krishna is demoniac mentality. And we can think of the example of Ravana trying to steal what was property of Lord Ram, Mother Sita. Or Shishupal wanted to marry Rukmini, who's Lakshmi belonging to Lord Krishna. So we're no different when we try to steal by calling something ours when it's not. In everyday life also, we can see that some people try to steal, rob, or cheat others out of what they consider to be their property. And then other people fight to keep it themselves, or they become afraid of losing it, hence the loss of peace of mind. And everybody, I shouldn't say everybody, but most people are doing the same thing to other people. And it happens at individual level, at group level, at country level. It leads to all sorts of conflicts. If you look around the world, there's a fight going on somewhere. The scriptures tell us that when we try to get more than what's our quota, we get punished like a thief. Because then we try to use somebody else's property. Now, when a devotee offers something, we talked about this a little bit earlier today. When a devotee offers something to Krishna, his mindset is that, hey, Krishna, this is yours to start with. But I'm simply mixing this with my love and giving it back to you. This was yours to start with. It's not that I'm giving it to you. I'm giving you back what was yours. All I have done is mixed my love for you with this. Similarly, when this person gives something in charity, he doesn't think that I'm giving something which is mine. Rather, he thinks that whatever I'm giving is the property of Krishna, which is meant for the benefit of other people. And I'm simply the servant who's delivering it. So I'm a delivery boy. I'm a delivery boy for Krishna. And I'm delivering it for the benefit of others, because that's what Krishna wants. Therefore, I don't deserve any credit for this. I don't claim any credit for this. Rather, all the credit goes to Krishna, who created this thing in the first place, and he sent it to this person using me as the instrument of giving. Therefore, all the credit goes to him. As I said, I'm only doing delivery. I'm only the postman. I'm only the delivery boy. I'm the courier. I'm only the servant. That is knowledge. And that's what brings us to the point of doing everything for the satisfaction of Krishna. Yes.
I was just, I'm just wondering, when you mentioned when you get more or ask for more, you get punished. Is that what it is?
No, we try to take more. Take it from me because you don't have enough.
Oh, okay. Okay. But it's all right.
Higher. Absolutely. You can pray to Krishna.
But I was thinking, like, what about Bill Gates, Mark? These people don't get punished?
No, but that's what they have is in their quota. Is their quota
right?
Big.
Okay.
Right. So actually, Bill Gates credit. He's trying to give away his property now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Okay.
All right. Sure. Okay. So now, second point was that Krishna is the supreme controller, and we're simply his instruments. as time, by the way, time is an impersonal expansion of Krishna, non-different from Krishna. So as time, Krishna controls everything, and we cannot win against time. Time is also the biggest destroyer. If you look at these old buildings, if you look at these great people from the history, very strong people, big warriors, they're all dead now. Buildings are in ruins now. Over time, that's what time does. So Krishna does, destroy. As he says, I am time and I am the destroyer as time. Now, so because time is Krishna, we cannot win against time. Similarly, Krishna's external potency called Maya, also known as the illusory potency, is impossible to win over. You can't win against Maya either, because she's also non-different from Krishna. So once we understand that, then it becomes easy to understand that we're totally dependent upon Krishna for his mercy. We have no powers, nothing. And whatever power we have, literally of speaking, seeing, moving my hand like this, that's all mercy of Krishna, given to me as my quota. But not everybody can see, not everybody can move, not everybody can speak. So the fact that I'm able to do it, you are able to do it, is Krishna's mercy. That's Krishna's quota for us. Okay? So, however, simply understanding, I mean, I made some very big points here, but simply understanding those points that we're dependent upon Krishna does not necessarily get us his mercy. Let me repeat that. Yeah. Simply understanding that we're dependent upon Krishna does not necessarily get us his mercy. We must ask for it. But ask for it how? Ask for it in a desperate mood, understanding we are in a desperate, hopeless condition. We have no way out and we are totally hopeless, powerless. And that is a big problem, because if we don't ask for it, then we're stuck in this material world for all the time. And that's the problem. We have become complacent. We don't think we're in a desperate situation. We don't think we're hopeless. Why? Because we have a job, we have family with wife and children who listen to us most of the time anyway. We get our food, we have our big fancy cars, we have our homes, and we have temple to go to every Sunday. You know, we will go for prasadam and do some gossip. And we throw in a little kirtan here or there, you know. And when we are forced to attend, we sit through a boring class by Rupanuga. And we say, life is good, LG. So why bother crying for his mercy? Well, the problem is, you no cry, he no give mercy. Capish? Comprende? Bujilo? Any other languages?
Yeah, capish.
Capish, okay, good. So when we understand that our situation is desperate, that we are in a hopeless condition, that we have no other shelter than Krishna, then we cry out for him from the heart, with full force, with complete surrender, in total, utter desperation. And then he comes. For example, when Draupadi called for him, he didn't come earlier because she was still looking at her husbands, she was looking at Bhishma and other people, and she was grabbing onto her own sari. When nothing was working, she raised her hands. Complete despair, complete hopeless situation, saying, I cannot do anything and nobody else here can help me. Then she shouted Krishna's name again, Govinda. And immediately Krishna was there. You probably heard the story of Gajendra, the elephant, was caught by the crocodile. Same thing happened. His own army couldn't help him. His own family couldn't help him. His children couldn't help him. And finally he gave up. In desperation, he called out for Krishna, who came and chopped off the head of crocodile. So it's that kind of desperation needed. That kind of sentiment I got no one else. I got no place to go, no other place to go. You're my only hope. You're my only shelter. Then he comes. Yes, somebody was going to ask a question?
Yeah, Giresh has Prabhuji one question.
Yeah, go ahead, Giresh.
Raghu? कहाँ चला गया? Raghu?
I have a question that how a student can remember Krishna or do all the time round.
Very good question. So, let me ask you differently. Have you ever been in a situation where you were very excited about something is going to happen, extremely excited,
Yes.
and it was not going to be for another 1 or 2 days? So, what did you do in those 1 or 2 days waiting for this thing to happen? Did you go ahead with your normal work, your normal things, and just waited for the situation to come? Or did you stop everything and just waited?
Stop everything, just waited.
Really? So you stopped sleeping, you stopped eating, you stopped going to
No,
school?
no, sometimes.
No. So this is just in general. My point is you probably did not stop anything, but you kept thinking about this all the time.
Yes.
Right? You kept looking forward to this all the time. Right?
Yes, yes.
Same thing. Same thing. You can be doing your work. You can be eating, sleeping, going to school, doing your homework, all that. But waiting for Krishna to show his mercy upon you. Remembering him. So you're thinking about the situation all the time, thinking about Krishna all the time, but you're doing your regular work. And that's what Krishna consciousness is.
Okay.
Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So now we have accepted 2 things so far. That Krishna is the enjoyer, excuse me, and Krishna is supreme controller. Now the final point was that he's something more than that. So knowing and accepting that he's the enjoyer, he's the supreme controller, it's actually extremely reassuring that he's also our well-wisher and best friend. Just imagine, Krishna is our best friend. Krishna is our well-wisher. There's a saying that my mother used to use quite a bit. जब संयम है कोतवाल तो डर कहेगा, which means if my husband is the superintendent of police, who do I have to worry about? Who do I need to be afraid of? So same thing. And the superintendent of all the superintendents, Krishna, is our friend. So why do I need to have any kind of fear? No fears. And then we live our life differently. We become eager to serve. And the more eager we are to serve, the more friendship we feel with Krishna. And then our chanting becomes pure. Our distractions from the material world become non-existent. And then something wonderful happens. And that wonderful thing is that Krishna himself, not a super soul. I'm talking about the two-handed Shyam Sundar Krishna of Vrindavan. He enters our heart because our ego has been unlocked. A passage door has been opened from our ears and from our mind to our heart. And in this heart, we all carry a hole. Believe it or not, we all have a hole in our heart shaped like Krishna. So this Krishna-shaped hole remains unfilled until Krishna himself enters it. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. Got to get the right piece to fill the hole. So only when Krishna himself enters this Krishna-shaped hole, we have that hole in the heart. We try to fill it with all sorts of undesirable things known as anarthas, material desires, lust, greed, all those kind of things. But nothing fits. Nothing fits in a hole in the shape of Krishna except Krishna himself. So as a result, the hole remains. And that hole manifests itself as emptiness within our heart. And it forces us, that emptiness forces us to run here and there, wasting our time trying to fill this vacuum with all the things that do not belong here. But having accepted that is all about satisfying Krishna's desires, acknowledging Krishna's position as Supreme Personality of Godhead and Supreme Controller, and accepting his friendship, showing that eagerness to serve him, and we fill that hole in our heart with Krishna. And as soon as that happens, there's no longer a vacuum in our heart. That feeling of emptiness disappears, and our senses become engaged in the service of Krishna with a simple motivation to please Krishna. Our desires become consistent with his desires. So in other words, our desires are same as his desires, and we become ready to follow his instructions no matter what they are. Krishna told Arjuna to kill Bhishma. He told Arjuna to kill Karna when Karna was not holding any arms. And Arjuna did that because that's what Krishna's desire was. Then there's no longer the tendency to argue with Krishna for what we think is right and what is to our liking. And when that happens, then our soul is happy, 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 happy. When that happens, we stop trying to claim ownership to everything. And we stop trying to exploit anything for our own sense enjoyment. Our happiness then comes from seeing Krishna happy. That's our happiness. Then there's no hankering for things. There's no lamentation for things we lost. Then there's no cheating, there's no robbing, there's no stealing, and we are at peace internally and externally. So I'm 10 minutes late, so I'm going to stop and open for any questions you have. But once again, anybody needs to leave. It's past 9:30. I apologize. You're welcome to leave. But those who want to stay and ask questions, you're welcome to do that.
Prabhuji, I have a question. In text 5, like I was reading the purport, and it talked about detaching from matter versus attaching yourself in Krishna consciousness.
Right.
And they call them same.
Correct.
How are they same?
So basically what it's saying is that as we become more and more attached to Krishna, our attachment to material things reduces. It happens simultaneously without separate endeavor. Therefore, it's the same thing. Right? When you're attaching more to Krishna, automatically becoming detached from Krishna, material things.
Okay. And then in text 7, so like this was something after reading it, I had in my mind. So then should we treat non-devotees just the way we treat the Krishna conscious devotees? Like,
so yes and no. Yes, in that they also have super soul in their body. Yes, they should be treated with respect and all those things. But you should also have compassion for them. Compassion in the sense that they do not have Krishna in their life. So they're going to continue to be miserable, not just in this life, but next life also. So we should try to get them attached to Krishna through our process of outreach. And talk to them about Krishna, chant Krishna with them, encourage them to chant Krishna and all those kind of things. Trying to get them closer to Krishna. Right? So and that's the difference. With the other devotees, you don't have to do that. We do other things like discuss Krishna. Ask them questions, give them prasadam, those kind of things. So there's minor differences, but otherwise, everybody should be treated with respect. And if they're junior to you, with compassion. If they're senior to you, with respect.
Thank you.
Sure, you're welcome.
I have a question.
Yes.
Papa, will you mention can you give me what is a Brahm Nirvana?
Yeah. So I'll say Nirvana means liberation.
Correct.
So Brahma Nirvana means basically liberation through merging into the Brahman effulgence.
Which is the light.
Light. Correct. Right. So the point I was making was that The Krishna conscious person, when they get their perfection, they go beyond this. They're not interested in that. But they're only interested in serving Krishna. They don't even want this. This is nothing, like they reject it. Whereas they're already above that. They want something much better, much more complete.
Okay.
In Brahman effulgence, there's only knowledge. There's no pleasure, there's no service. Okay? I should say there's no pleasure. There's pleasure, but it's not compared to, nothing compared to pleasure in serving Krishna.
So is that what we call that is a true knowledge?
Correct. That's correct. That's correct.
Is it possible for a normal human being to get there?
Well, so in the next chapter, Arjuna will say, hey, you're talking about all this, is it possible? And Krishna says, the only reason I'm telling you all this is that to tell you that it's all very difficult. Just do Bhakti Yoga, which is the easiest. 6th chapter will talk about that.
Yeah. And one more thing, you mentioned there are 9 process of devotional service.
Yes, I did. I'm glad you're paying attention.
Yes. Thank you. So what are those 9 process of devotional service,
Okay,
please?
sure. So it starts with hearing. That's number 1. Chanting. Number 2. Remembering. So Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. Serving his lotus feet. That's number 4. Offering him worship. That's Archanam. Offering him prayers. That's Vandanam. Dasyam, serving him like a servant. In the mood of servitorship. Dasyam. Sakhyam, serving him like a friend. And 9, complete surrender, which means I got no desire independent of yours. So, but everything starts with hearing. And any one of these 9 processes can get you the perfection of devotion service. But in the age of Kali, hearing and chanting are the most recommended processes. So
Right.
if you hear and chant the name of the Lord, you're good.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah.
Prabhu, you had mentioned towards sort of the end of your class that everyone comes with a quota based on their karma. So when you look at personalities like Bill Gates or even Steve Jobs or anything like that, how can we begin to understand what our quota is? And if we have aspirations in life that don't necessarily get met, or we have desires in life that don't necessarily get met, how can we understand that that's not part of a quota, or that's Krishna's mercy instead?
Well, so as I was saying, according to the scriptures and according to Krishna, you have been given a quota. So the example I gave, and one day I can give you a class on karma itself because it's a very interesting topic. But imagine there's a huge bucket of M&Ms, but there are only 2 colors, green and red. You got a huge bucket full of it. And just before you are born, Krishna puts his hand in this bucket, takes a fistful out and puts in a little bowl. And that's your destiny and your quota for this birth. You can't change that. You can't change the size of this bowl. And nor can you change the number of green or the red M&Ms. So your bad karmas, good karmas, they're there. It's fixed. And that's what decides your quota. So it is our lack of understanding of this concept that makes us work very hard to get something that's beyond a quota. But you're right, we don't know what that quota is. We have no way of knowing. So therefore, we can only accept it as a past tense. The future we don't know. Past we can see. We can say, okay, this is all I had in my karma, in my quota. So I can't fight this. Now, the subsequent question could be, so if my quota is fixed, then why am I working so hard?
Correct. That's what
Isn't
I
it
was
home?
next.
I know how the mind works. I live in this material world also. So let me just sit home and then wait for my quota to show up. Well, so we discussed that when we discussed chapter 3, and we said our nature is to be active. We can't sit idle. So we will do something. And this is exactly what Krishna told Arjun. When you talk about running away to the forest, but your nature is to fight. So you go to the forest and fight with somebody else. In the meantime, you'll be called a coward by all these people who are standing in front of you in the battlefield. So you may as well fight here. So that's one thing. The second point is, if you do have that degree of faith, then yes, you can sit. But our faith is not complete. Our faith is not that strong. We talk about it. We talk like we have the faith, but we don't. At the slightest of, adverse situation, we run away. We start swearing at Krishna. We start saying, I did all this for you. Look what you're doing to me. And then if you have Amitabh Bachchan, then you really start pointing fingers. Start like, "Tune aisa kiya." Why did you do this? Right? So our faith is not that strong. We have many stories in our scriptures when people just got it. Sometimes they were saying no, like Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruv Maharaj, they were saying, no, I don't want it. Don't give it to me. And they were saying, no. Sometimes people win the lottery. They're not working very hard for that, but they get $25 million, $50 million. So it does happen, right? It doesn't happen all the time. It doesn't happen just because we want it. It will happen if Krishna wants it. And that's the other thing. Somehow or the other, instead of dovetailing our desires with his, we would prefer to have Krishna dovetail his desires with ours. Like Krishna can do everything. Why can't he dovetail his desires with mine? Make it same as mine, then I'm happy, he's happy. But Krishna says, I'm not doing that. I'm still the supreme controller. I'm still the supreme personality of Godhead. I'm still the boss. You got to serve me. Only when I serve you is become my pure devotee. Then I serve you.
Thank you, Prabhu. I have a follow-up question to that.
Yeah, go ahead.
My follow-up question is, it's in regards to the topic of envy, because obviously, I think when you see other people around you, or when you even see, celebrities that have a very lavish lifestyle, or you see people like Bill Gates or Steve Jobs or whatever, they're not necessarily within the movement. So then you start to question, like, how is it that they have so many things when I'm practicing Krishna consciousness and I don't have the same opportunities as these people do? So then how do you, and you understand that that's a form of envy because you're envious of that person. And that's a form of wanting to take away what they already have. So there's a form of exploitation in that sense too. So then how do you begin to understand those two concepts in the sense of working towards not having that understanding when situations like that are presented to you?
It all stems from our envy of Krishna. Why did we end up in this material world? We became envious of him. We wanted his opulence, we wanted his power, we wanted his opportunities to enjoy, on and on and on. So Krishna says, okay, then you have to go to a place where you think you're doing all this, the sleep-like situation, which is temporary and is simply an illusion. But we carry that enviousness, or envy, I should say, in our heart. We haven't gotten rid of it yet. So we're envious of him, and we become envious of anybody who's doing or having or getting what we want. So that's the second side of it. Because we want, because we hanker, and we don't have it, so we become envious of somebody who does. So for example, if I don't play guitar or piano and have no desire to play or become good at it, then I will never be envious of the best player of guitar or piano.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to be the top cricketer, and I'm envious of Sachin Tendulkar and Virat Kohli because they're the top cricketers. Because I want that. So it starts from, I want something, and I don't have it, so therefore I'm envious. So when we stop wanting, then the envy goes away. But we don't stop wanting because we are competing with Krishna. And we're competing with Krishna because we're envious of Krishna. This all starts from there. So the day we become real servant of Krishna, the day we become conscious of the fact that we're simply a servant of Krishna, our role is to be enjoyed by Krishna. We are Prakriti, material nature. Krishna is Purusha, the enjoyer. The day we understand that, by understand I mean realize that, accept it here. I don't know if you can see it, but I point at my heart. Can you see it? Probably not showing. Anyway, so I'm pointing at my heart. Like, when you accept it here, then all the hankering and all the envy will go away. So the process of devotional service is trying to get us to that point. That's why we practice chanting. That's why we do other services. That's why we associate with the devotees. That's why we read about the devotees in our scriptures. That's why we ask questions. All that just to get to that point where we get rid of envy. Sometimes people say, I'm not envious of Krishna. And I ask them a very simple question. Think back the last 10 years. Have you taken credit for anything you have done? And the answer is almost always yes. I graduated. I made money. I got these promotions. I helped this person. I bought this house. Look at my fancy car. On and on and on. We're getting credit. But is it our credit really? We're not giving credit where it's due. Similarly, if we are giving money away or doing any kind of charity or charitable work, I want my name in the newspaper. I want a plaque. I want my name on the wall of the hospital building because I do it. It's all about me. Hence the envy. That's what we're trying to do. Trying to get rid of that. The day we get rid of our envy of Krishna, we won't be envious of anybody, no matter how much more money they have or whatever other skills they have. Right? Did I answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, good. Good. I like your teddy bear.
Thank you.
There's two of them. Oh, there's not teddy bears. Yeah, there's two of them.
Yeah, there's a couple back there.
All right. Okay, any other questions or comments? I hope I wasn't too heavy today.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Related to devotional service that at 21 Sikhs fought against 10,000 Afghans to protect their country.
What was that?
In a past that there was a 21 Sikh who fought against 10,000 Afghans in order to protect the country and listen the order of their God. Will it be a devotional service?
No, it doesn't sound like it. It's material, serving your country. So it's pious, but it's not devotional service. Devotional service means serving Krishna directly or Krishna's devotees directly.
But they were following their gods.
That's not God. There's somebody, their commander.
Guru. They're following their Guru.
Sorry, maybe I misunderstood. I don't know what. Maybe I don't understand what he's saying.
He's saying that there were Sikh who fought Afghani people. Guru Gobind Singh, he's talking about Guru Gobind Singh actually.
Okay.
Yeah, because there are some Sikh who fought, and did they perform a devotional service or not? Because Guru Gobind Singh said fight, and he's
I see. So their Guru asked them
to fight, right?
So
and
they were
fought.
following their Guru's orders.
Yeah.
So they're serving their Guru. Yeah, so that does make it devotional service, because especially if you talk about Guru Gobind Singh, Guru Gobind Singh was a pure devotee. So yes, but if it was some other Guru, I would have said no.
Yeah, he said Guru Gobind Singh.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, Giresh, I did not understand your question first.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, all right. So again, apologies if it was too heavy, but this is a very important topic and very important chapter. I wanted to make sure that everybody understands this thing and try to follow it in your life, because honestly, if we can understand and follow these 3 points of verse 29, then you really have a very happy, peaceful life. So try to absorb this, try to implement this in your life, and you'll see a difference yourself.
Prabhuji, I have a question. I don't know if it's related to, but I have seen the most atheist people, you know, they do gossips, bad things, everything. They are the most like rich and, you know, enjoying the life and everything. Then why Krishna gave them so much for doing, even being so bad person?
No, so
And the
again,
people I have seen who are so devotional and so into the bhakti and so into the spiritual life, and they yet like a beggar.
sure. I mean, it's both ways. People.
But if it's everything is given by Krishna, but that why that is so injustice?
Yeah,
Why?
that's what I'm saying. So you're not following the laws of karma. Laws of karma
past karma
are deciding what you have in this life. Right? It's got nothing to do with Krishna.
पास्ट कर्मा में उन्होंने इतना क्या अच्छा किया कि अभी उनको
We
इतनी
don't know.
अच्छी लाइफ मिली, और अब वो बुरा काम कर रहे हैं.
तो नेक्स्ट टाइम को नहीं मिलेगा.
Who knows?
क्लास तो खत्म, क्वेश्चन चल रहा है.
Yeah, so we don't know, but we know that scriptures tell us something that we believe and we follow. The scriptures tell us that what you have in this life is the result of your previous life's karma, and what you get in the next lives will be the result of this life's karma. That's how it goes. And
that's all faith, right? That we have to have
so
faith.
Everything we're doing today,
faith.
everything we're doing devotional service is on faith. Without faith, nothing means anything. Yeah, so I can't argue with that. Yeah, no faith, nothing will make sense. Because we can't see it, we can't prove it. We can't prove what will happen next life. Nor can we prove what happened in the previous life. So yeah, you have to take it on faith, but faith based on what the scriptures are saying.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
You're welcome. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna, everybody. Vancha kalpitarubhyascha kapasindubhyavcha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namah. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
You're welcome. Thank you. Haribol.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you.